2023 NFL Draft coverage on Keon Sports is brought to you by Hinckley Roofing. Founder of Hinckley Roofing, Steve Walkuski Sr., with years of roofing experience, moved to Hinckley, Ohio in 1958, the home of the Buzzards. Steve is looking to build a company driven on service, quality, and integrity. Hinckley Roofing is a family-owned and operated business serving the northern Ohio area since 1958. Mention Keon Sports when you call for a 10% discount. Got you covered Medina, with everything from blinds, custom bedding, and shutters to shades and drapery. They have it all. Check them out online at www.gotchacovered.com/Medina or call them at 330-446-3647. That's 330-446-3647. TNT Construction. TNT Construction is a private family-owned construction company located in Berea. TNT provides residential and commercial remodeling, construction, and building services to clients in Cleveland and all of Northeast Ohio. Pulp North Olmsted. Hey North Olmsted Eagles fans, former NFL player and Eagle alumni Matt Rothram wants to see you at Pulp North Olmsted. This delicious and healthy meal phenomena is exactly what North Olmsted needed. From wraps to bowls to smoothies and everything in between, this is the perfect healthy option for the person on the go. Stop in and taste for yourself at 27650 Lorraine Road in North Olmsted. The store is at the corner of Porter and Lorraine, right around the block from North Olmsted High School. Stop in before the game this week. And JBL Roofing and Construction. JBL was founded by the Lewis family of Kent, Ohio in 2005 to provide residents with a reliable, professional, and high-quality level of service. Fast forward to today, JBL Roofing and Construction has become one of Northeast Ohio's most trusted roofing and siding companies, performing the highest quality of work on over 3,000 roofs and projects. We're coming down to the final days of prospect rankings here at Keon Sports for the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm Cole McDaniel here with you once again, and this time we move to the wide receivers. Day 9 of these prospect rankings, day 10, day 11, and then we wrap things up there after we've gone through all those position groups, and then you'll see my full big board come out, pieced together, of course, where everybody is grouped together. But like I said, it's been a great time. Had a blast going through this. Again, I appreciate everybody watching and listening after all the preparation that I've gone through for months evaluating these prospects, and always excited to talk about the wide receiver group, as that's the one, like I said, we're talking about here today. This class is a class that I don't love quite as much as last year's class. Maybe a slight step behind. I think it's pretty comparable. I still like it. In general, it maintained a lot of the same talent, same ability. Again, still one of the bigger groups that I evaluate each year. But I don't quite think it has the same depth, and maybe these players can quite do what I think this past year's group can do in the NFL. Regardless, there's still some really good prospects in this class, and this is a solid top 3 as well. And we're going to jump into the top 3 here on the Keon Sports YouTube channel. Starting at number 3, Quentin Johnston of TCU. Johnston is an extremely long, big receiver with short area quickness and has some shake in his movements. He's not a burner in open field, but has enough speed to be a vertical threat. Johnston made a ton of plays at TCU, and the potential is there to do the same thing in the NFL. He does have a tendency, though, to get jammed at the line of scrimmage in press man coverage, which is a little concerning considering he's a bigger wide receiver. I'd like to see him play a little bit more physically there at the line of scrimmage, not let corners jam him up quite as easily. He is a little bit slow coming out of his breaks. He will, without a doubt, be a Thursday night selection. I'm just not sure how early his name will be called. Again, one of those guys where I know he's going to go in the first round, but I'm not sure if he's going to sneak into that top 15 or not. I would assume he'll actually be in the later half of Thursday night, that opening round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, Johnston's size and his ability and all the potential he has, despite not, like I said, being the fastest guy in open field, not necessarily wowing you with the athleticism, but he has the frame and the potential to do something big in the league. Reminds me a lot of Julio Jones. I didn't ever look at Julio Jones as the fastest guy out there, but he had the physical body, the physical presence. Julio Jones, a little bit more physical than Johnston. Quentin Johnston's going to have to work a little bit to get to that point, but there are some similarities. That's one of the better comparisons that I can think of, especially in recent times. My projection, like I said, first round, probably going to be in that later half, somewhere between pick 16, pick 31. Best fits for Johnston at Chicago. Chicago, they added DJ Moore. They still have Darryl Mooney. They have Chase Claypool. Velus Jones Jr. going to get some time, but I still think you could add another bigger wide receiver to the outside if you're Chicago. Give Justin Fields another weapon. Doesn't hurt to select a wide receiver. So if they want to take a wide receiver early on in the first round, then they could go for Quentin Johnston. But I don't think they're probably going to do that here. But they certainly could. He'd be a good fit in Chicago. Dallas would be another good fit. They brought in Brandon Cooks, and he pairs with CeeDee Lamb, but Cooks is a smaller receiver. Johnston certainly has a different skill set, being a bigger guy. The New York Giants, they could add more weapons for Daniel Jones, who has had his contract extended. They have been lacking at the wide receiver position. Honestly, last year made it through to the playoffs just based off of a weaker schedule, running the football, and their defense actually playing pretty well, really punching above their weight. His wide receiver was probably their weakness on that roster. And then the wild card, Tennessee. Tennessee, they got a bigger receiver in Treylon Burks last season. If they want to add another bigger receiver on the opposite side, they could select Quentin Johnston. Robert Woods no longer on the roster. He ended up going to the Houston Texans. So they have an opening there. They probably should look to take another wide receiver. It's just a matter of what type of caliber, skill set type of guy do you want. And I think that Johnston and Burks might be interesting on opposite sides to have two big wide receivers. At number 2, Jordan Addison from USC. At Pittsburgh, he was lights out phenomenal, and he continued to impress at USC with Caleb Williams as his quarterback, just as he was impressive when he had Kenny Pickett as his quarterback. He's just extremely productive throughout his career. He's the big playability and the versatility that everybody desires at the NFL level. He is very quick. Addison's shifty. He gets in and out of his breaks fast. After the catch, he has no problems picking up extra yardage in open space. I think he has pretty clean hands, and he will test a defense at every single level on the field. His straightaway speed is fairly average, and Addison is a smaller player there. Again, one of the lighter guys, one of the leaner guys out of all these wide receiver prospects. So he's not super physical as a receiver, rather more of a finesse guy. In tight coverage, Addison does have some issues with drops. That being said, though, Addison doesn't let defensive backs stay tight too often, at least throughout his college career. In the NFL, defensive backs stay tighter a whole lot more than they did in college, but Addison has all the ability, the tools, with that shiftiness, with the route running ability to create separation still even at the highest level. He best projects as an outside receiver, but I could see him lining up in the slot when necessary. I think Addison might light up the league very early on. I think he's one of those guys in this class that is going to perform very well, especially if he's not a number 1 initially. If he's the number 2 receiver, then you have a really good wide receiver room. My player comparisons for him: Jamar Chase. I think he has that big playability that Chase has, but then that frame of Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith, everybody had those concerns about him being so light and lean. Addison has those same concerns around him. Smith proved that he can play here in the NFL and Addison will do the same thing. He's going to be a top 20 pick, no doubt about that. First round guy, not only top 20, has the potential to maybe sneak into the top 10. Best fits for him, Atlanta. I think Atlanta would be a great fit. Desmond Ridder, yes, Taylor Heineke was brought in, but Desmond Ridder is the guy that's going to be the quarterback to start the season. Atlanta needs to put him out there again. He has the potential. He was my number one quarterback prospect last year, and he proved in the 4 games that he started at the end of the season after Marcus Mariota lost the job, proved that he has the athleticism and the ability and the calm composure to get it done at the NFL level. He just needed more weapons around him. With Kyle Pitts out, he really had Drake London, and that was about it. And I'm not even the biggest Drake London fan, but London is a bigger receiver, definitely provides a target for Ridder. Kyle Pitts being back will be huge. And if you can put Jordan Addison out there on the opposite side of Drake London, I mean, that's 3 really good receiving prospects, specifically Pitts, Addison. You couple them with the size of London, and Ridder might see a lot of success there. I think Atlanta would be a wonderful fit there, not only just for Atlanta's sake, for Addison's sake as well. He'd get a lot of usage and touches. Green Bay, that would be a fit there because no Allen Lazard. Christian Watson is settling into his own, but they still need receiving threats up there in Green Bay. Jacksonville would be another really nice fit. Add another weapon there for Trevor Lawrence, and Christian Kirk operates more out of the slot. You would see Addison be a starter on the outside. And my wild card's Buffalo. Stephon Diggs is their number 1 there. They bring in Jordan Addison for Josh Allen as his number 2 because I don't think Gabe Davis is a reliable number 2 wide receiver. He can go off some games, but he also was pretty quiet at the end of last season. Addison would be a huge factor as the second receiver there in Buffalo behind Stephon Diggs. And at number 1, Jackson Smith-Njigba of Ohio State. Smith-Njigba hasn't had the perfect road to this point due to the hamstring injury last season that he picked up in week 1 against Notre Dame. It really continued to linger throughout the season. A couple weeks after that injury, he tried to run out a few times and wasn't able to continue out of the first drive, and then he really was out the rest of the season. So he lost the year, not really being able to get back on the field for the Buckeyes, but he remains my top prospect in this class, even ahead of the talented Jordan Addison. Because Smith-Njigba, the year prior, put all of college football and even the NFL on watch due to his ability to even outshine Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in the same wide receiver room. Those are both guys in Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave who were selected in the first round last season, who, mind you, performed very well in their rookie years, so much so that Garrett Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And Jackson Smith-Njigba outperformed them numbers-wise, and even in an interview with Kirk Herbstreit, Wilson and Olave said Smith-Njigba was the best athlete of the 3 of them. He's a possession receiver with excellent hands and fantastic awareness. He does well at finding open spaces thanks to his clean, crisp routes and tight turning ability. He can put up some monster numbers, like I mentioned already, and command a high volume of passes in his direction. In open space, he's quick and shifty with the football in his hands, which results in additional yardage after the catch. He even has a pretty nasty stiff arm for a wide receiver. He's an elite safety valve, and he'll continue to be an elite safety valve in the league for any quarterback that gets him. Smith-Njigba does have below average straightaway speed, and his stock has dropped since 2021 because of the injury concerns. But even though his stock's dropped a little bit, it hasn't dropped very far. I think he's best when operating out of the slot, but he could be lined up wherever. If he needs to be outside, he could be, but he's going to tear your defense apart when he is in the slot. He's destined to bounce back with a vengeance. I am truly convicted in saying that Smith-Njigba is going to bounce back. I feel very sure about that. He is going to perform at the NFL level as long as, like I said, his hamstring fully recovered, and there's no reason it shouldn't have with the time he had off. I have a lot of player comparisons for him because he's a mix of a lot of different things in his game. KJ Hill, his slot ability. People forget about KJ Hill and how good he was at Ohio State. I'm shocked that the Chargers didn't utilize him well enough because Hill might not have been the fastest guy, wasn't the biggest guy, but really ran precise routes. Caught a lot of passes at Ohio State, actually so much so that he holds the record for receptions in a career at Ohio State. Keenan Allen for his possession ability. Allen, great hands, really a strong possession receiver. And then Robert Woods for the versatility that he has. I think Smith-Njigba has that same versatility of Robert Woods. My projection for him, like I said, his stock dropped a little bit. Would have been a top 10 prospect had he not suffered the injury and been out basically all season. He's still going to be a top 20 pick. I don't doubt that. Best fits for him, Seattle. If you could put him in the slot with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf on the outside, that would be huge for Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. The Los Angeles Chargers would be an excellent fit with Justin Herbert. Can put him there, operating out of the slot, give Herbert another weapon. Indianapolis would be a good fit there. Now, they have a lot of possession receivers. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., but they still need a slot guy. Yeah, it would be 3 possession guys. You wonder about who's going to vertically stretch the field, but I think that fills a huge need for the Indianapolis Colts. And then my wild card is Minnesota. You have Justin Jefferson. If you can put Jackson Smith-Njigba there with Justin Jefferson, when Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL, is commanding a ton of attention, Smith-Njigba is going to get open. He might catch the ball 8, 9, 10 times in that Vikings offense. And I think that could be one of the best duos in the entire NFL if Justin Jefferson and Jackson Smith-Njigba end up being teammates. That's going to do it now for the wide receiver position. I've had a blast talking about the wide receivers. We turn to the running backs tomorrow, and quarterbacks follow the day after that. So much good stuff over the course of the last 2 days. If you've been watching all the way through the first 9 days of these videos and read the first 9 days of articles, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel here. Turn on the notifications. Like, share this video. Share the story. Again, get the word out there about these prospect rankings because the draft keeps getting closer and closer every single day, and before you know it, my mock drafts will come out, and the Keon Sports live draft show on the first 2 days will also be happening here on this very YouTube channel. For everybody out there, have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back with you tomorrow.